From lockout till insanity. What a year it's been for the NBA. Commissioner David Stern offers a State of the League report at the All-Star break.
Everything is trending in a very positive direction.
Jeff Gordon revs up for his 20th season in NASCAR. Still speedy and now savvy.
The sponsors want somebody that's young, and then the car owners want somebody that's going to get them to victory lane.
Plus, Under Armour's grabbing market share in sports apparel. And owning the NFL Combine sure hasn't hurt.
This is the latest innovation from Under Armour.
Our performance is off the charts on Sportfolio. Hello, I'm Rick Horrow, and welcome to Sportfolio, Bloomberg's weekly inside look at the business of sports. The stars are aligned this week across the sports universe. NBA stars meet in Orlando for the All-Star Game. NASCAR stars open the racing season at Daytona, and future NFL stars show their stuff at the Combine in Indianapolis. We've got a star-studded lineup on Sportfolio, starting with the most powerful man in pro basketball. Through months of a drawn-out lockout, David Stern insisted that the NBA would return as strong as ever. And while he didn't anticipate some of the more spectacular storylines of the season so far, he was generally dead on in predicting that fans' appetite for NBA hoops would not be spoiled by the labor stalemate. As his league prepares to hold its All-Star celebration in Orlando, NBA Commissioner David Stern joins us from his New York office. Mr. Commissioner, with the schedule so packed this season, it really must be nice for everybody to take a little bit of a break and review the state of the business. Give us your thoughts at the halfway point at the All-Star break.
Well, we're having a good year, such as it's been. It's a little short, a little compressed, but attendance is keeping pace with last year's strong attendance. Ratings are up across the board. NBA TV has come into its own this year. It's in almost 60 million households. It's up well over 50%. You know, sponsors are activating at All-Star in a very full way, and licensed products are hopping off the shelves. So we're feeling pretty good about being measured. And the basketball is kind of interesting. We've got a lot of interesting stories.
A lot of interesting stories, a lot of close games. And, of course, in terms of the league's relationship with its fans, 12 teams have sold over 10,000 season tickets, up from 10 a year ago. What are some other indicators that the league as a whole is healthy and has recovered from the lockout?
Well, we're playing at close to 90% capacity. Well over 45% of our games are sold out. Our social media is incredibly robust. We're up to over 700 million YouTube views with our players and our teams. We've got, you know, we're approaching 200 million likes and followers on Facebook and Twitter. Everything is trending in a very positive direction.
Last year at this time, there was a little bit of a fear that the NBA would be overrun by roving gangs of stars getting together to form super teams. This year, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the talk of the league for signing great young players to long-term contracts. Are you encouraged by the example the Thunder are setting?
Well, actually, that's a case where roving superstars, potentially roving superstars, have decided not to rove. So Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant are, you know, leading, and they're doing great. And in Chicago, we have Luol Deng and Derrick Rose and Carlos Boozer doing great. So we're having a really, really good year with a dispersed talent pool, together with stories. You know, are the big three and Rajon Rondo going to make one more run for Boston? Will Kobe crank it up one more time to get ring number 6? You know, and I haven't even mentioned the Knicks yet by design.
Let's look at the impact Jeremy Lin might have on the NBA in China. Of course, 1 week before he burst on the scene, your league concluded a week of promotions coinciding with the Chinese New Year. I have a press release from February 2nd where you talk about reaching 96 million viewers on television digital platforms in China, and your TV ratings and page views are up dramatically from a year ago. All of that BL before Lin. What does his emergence mean for this market?
You know, the incredible interest in him on a global scale is resonating particularly in China because he's of Chinese descent. And although we haven't started deep measurements, we can tell you anecdotally that there is a kind of frenzy that mirrors the frenzy here in the staid USA, where when the New York Times or USA Today each has 5 Jeremy Lin articles on a given day, you can imagine what's going on in China. And so it's really spectacular. We have games virtually every day. We stream on Tencent, one of the most important sites in China. We stream as well on Sina.com. The getting together of our fans online, the community, and their talk about Jeremy is really quite extraordinary as well. So it's really very good and very helpful for our business, literally all over the world, because the story is such an intriguing one.
Thanks, Mr. Commissioner. We'll come back in a couple of minutes and ask David Stern about new facilities and franchise movement. If they build an arena in Seattle, who will come? And later in the program, why is the NFL Combine such a perfect sponsorship fit for Under Armour?
To test the challenge, the clearinghouse that we have.
Stick around. Sportfolio will be right back. Welcome back to Sportfolio. NBA Commissioner David Stern joins us on the eve of the All-Star Weekend. Mr. Commissioner, you made the news at the start of the season when you would not allow the Lakers to complete a trade with the New Orleans Hornets for Chris Paul. Instead, he went to the Clippers, who are thriving, while the Hornets are having a pretty dreadful year and the Lakers are struggling. Are you still taking heat for that decision, and would you do it all over again?
I'm not taking heat for it, and I would do it all over again, although clearly my communication skills are lacking because of the way you phrased that. It isn't that we didn't allow the Lakers to make the trade or acquire him. It's that I am the owner's representative in a team, on a team that is owned by the league, and I have to sign off wearing that hat, not my commissioner hat, on all Hornets trades. And when that trade was presented to me as the owner, I said no. And so we wanted better value. And we wanted to align the team in a different way going forward. And we think we have, and we would do it again.
I apologize for my inartful phrasing of the question. Your communication skills are always perfect.
It wasn't inartful. It was mistaken. And so I, you know, if I seem a little defensive, it's because I am, Rick, because this was not me acting as a commissioner as some kind of life and death decision of whether someone can acquire a player or not. This was whether the Hornets would make a particular trade, and there's no team that would trade a clear all-star superstar, future Hall of Famer, unless it had ownership sign-off.
It is a conundrum. It causes some difficulty for you to represent the 30 teams and own one. And in that context, what progress has been made in finding a buyer for the Hornets?
We're in negotiations with 2 different potential purchasers right now. It's on a fast track. I had hoped to get it done by the end of this month or the early part of next month, and that's still what we're trying to aim at.
NBA fans in Seattle are thrilled that there's a plan in place to build an arena and attract a team. And at the same time, New Orleans and Sacramento may feel a little nervous since there are no plans for the league to expand. It looks today to be a zero-sum game, and seen you do it before. But how do you keep everybody hopeful and positive in this context?
It's very difficult. All you can do is deal with one situation at a time. In New Orleans, we're in negotiations with the state over an improved lease for the team, and the negotiations we're having with prospective investors are going to require them to sign a lease for an additional 10 years in New Orleans. And that would, I think, settle in a positive way the fate of New Orleans. With respect to Sacramento, we're also involved in very detailed and intense negotiations with all parties over a new arena for the team. And we hope to resolve that in the next couple of weeks. So we're really, going strong. We don't want to discourage teams or buildings or cities that are going to be building buildings, but all we can do is tell them what we're trying to do and then leave it at that.
So when you go down to Orlando this weekend and meet with the owners of the All-Star Game, what do you think the #1 topic of conversation will be?
You know, the #1 topic of conversation for us, other than the Jeremy Lin sensation, which everyone wants to talk about, is really how we settle in to a very much improved economic situation for the league, where 12% of player costs have been shaved because of the collective bargaining settlement, where contracts that teams can sign with other teams' free agents are limited in length to 4 years, and where an enhanced luxury tax will take effect the year after next, where if a team goes $20 million over the luxury tax, it will cost them an additional $45 million. And we believe that that's a very much a leveling agreement that we've entered into, together with enhanced revenue sharing. And we think we're moving to a place where our league will be more competitive and our teams will all have the ability not only to compete, but to profit.
Commissioner Stern, thanks for taking the time to join us on Sportfolio, and absolutely see you in Orlando on Sunday.
Looking forward to it.
Just 54 miles east of Orlando on Sunday, the green flag falls at the Daytona 500, and the 2012 NASCAR season begins. Coming up, Jeff Gordon reflects on the changes he's seen in 20 years of Cup racing, including a radical shift in the demographics.
Others just look at it as an elite racing series, not, hey, if you're not from the South, you don't have a chance to get in.
And our Sportfolio Stumper tests your knowledge of NBA promotions. Who won the inaugural All-Star Weekend Slam Dunk Contest back in 1984? Answer when we come back. Here's the answer to the Sportfolio Stumper. The NBA first held an All-Star Slam Dunk Contest in 1984. And the inaugural champion was Larry Nance of the Phoenix Suns. When Jeff Gordon made his debut in NASCAR's Cup Series, good old boys dominated victory lane. Of the top 10 drivers in 1992, only one hails from north of Virginia. Gordon, a California native, was a driver of change. Last year, a majority of the top 10 drivers in the chase for the Cup playoffs were born outside the South. Bloomberg's Matt Miller sat down with Jeff Gordon to talk about changes he's seen in the business over 20 years, starting with demographics.
When I got into the sport, definitely the majority of the drivers were still from the South, but now car owners and sponsors and where we're racing, look in tracks in Texas and Vegas and two tracks in California. The Indianapolis race, I think, really opened up a lot of eyes to NASCAR. Inaugural Brickyard 400 came in 1994. I know my career's never been the same because when I won that race, life changed for me in a big way. It didn't matter to me where I was from. I was just a race car driver, and I think that's what I've seen happen since then, is that others just look at it as an elite racing series, not, hey, if you're not from the South, you don't have a chance to get in.
When I was a kid, I thought the Indy 500 was the biggest race in the world.
It was when you were a kid, and when I was a kid.
For sure, but now she's not going to race in the Indy 500, so she can drive NASCAR. I mean, does that just show you how much bigger NASCAR has gotten?
It does. I mean, it's been happening for years because the car owners and sponsors and drivers were being attracted to NASCAR and the Cup Series and its growth that was happening. It just seemed to get bigger and bigger. Now with Danica, I mean, I think that unfortunately for IndyCar, it is a bit of a blow because she's so popular, and it's a great thing for our sport, for the NASCAR series, and we're excited to have her there. And I'll always be a fan of IndyCars and the Indy 500, but what's happening as far as the fan base out there, it's hard to say.
How was it when you started in '92? A lot of people say that you kind of led the way for younger drivers to get into NASCAR. I mean, what was the challenge? What
I love is that, you have Rick Hendrick, car owner, who took a chance on a young guy that, he felt like had something that they could offer to his team. You had a sponsor like DuPont who took a chance on an unproven young driver, and we made this fierce combination that went on to do some great things. The sponsors want somebody that's young, that they can market, and then the car owners want somebody that's going to get them to victory lane. And that's what, now sort of being a car owner myself, partnered with Rick, that's what I looked for in Jimmy Johnson, and what we look for in Casey Kane now coming on board. And whatever the future may hold in, say, Chase Elliott, it's that marketability as well as being able to get the job done and finding the complete package.
Is it weird to own a team and you kind of want that guy to win, but you're also a driver and you want to win?
Well, the difference is that I own the same amount of equity in my team as I do in Jimmy Johnson's team. So if I win, I do far better. But if you can't win, and you don't get it done that year, it's pretty cool and very rewarding to know that you played a role in somebody else, getting to that level. I mean, now my whole role is starting to change. I've got 2 kids now. I feel like I've got 4 or 5 years left, in driving competitively. But I start to look at the future of Hendrick Motorsports, the future of NASCAR, and what I can bring to the table to keep the sport growing and our team growing.
The excitement of last year's chase for the Cup with Tony Stewart edging Carl Edwards in the final race has NASCAR poised for growth in 2012 after a couple of rough seasons.
Did it raise the bar for sponsors, for television, for the whole business end as well? I mean,
absolutely, and it was a crucial time for us. The sport was going through some renegotiations for the title sponsor in Sprint, with TV contracts. A lot of us were re-upping with sponsors, and it was tough. I mean, it's the first time we've ever had a challenging time. Before, the sponsors were lining up, let us know when there's a spot available. Now, the last couple of years, it's been, I don't know, we're having to cut back on our marketing dollars. And so, we got lucky. We got a great sponsor and a cause-driven marketing sponsorship in Drive to End Hunger. So we get to go out and do cool things for people in need and raise money and awareness for that. But that's how creative you had to be over the last couple of years. I think what's going to happen now is you can keep that creativity and things we learn, but be able to build on where the ratings are at now. The TV contracts are basically in place. The title sponsorship is secure, and all that positive energy is making other sponsors take note and be aware of it and want to be involved.
Of all the sweeping changes in the racing game since 1992, Gordon's image is one of the most notable. The brash upstart has morphed into the elder statesman, and it suits him just fine.
It's interesting how you evolve and you change. I was looking at some old footage from my first championship. I was this arrogant, young, I felt like I just had the world in the palm of my hand, but I had no clue in reality.
You were pushing it hard, you were crashing a lot.
We were winning races, we weren't making many friends, winning championships. I thought the world was mine, and obviously I've learned a lot since then. I'm so much more appreciative now of the opportunity I've had because I've gone through the ups and the downs. And I have fans now come to me, and they say, when you first came along, I didn't really like you, but I like what you're doing now. And I'm a big fan, and I look back and I go, I don't blame you. If you weren't a fan back then, I get it, because I didn't really like myself a whole lot when I look back at it.
Jeff Gordon's success has helped redraw the NASCAR map. In 1992, the sport held Cup races at just 6 tracks outside the South. Compare that to the 2012 schedule, which includes 12 venues outside the traditional belt of Florida through Tennessee. I was involved in expanding NASCAR's national footprint in the 1990s, and I vividly remember explaining to the late Bill France how much capital, both financial and political, would be needed to make a project like Kansas Speedway really work. It's a far cry from slapping concession stands and bleachers around an oval, the standard blueprint for NASCAR's original tracks. But it's a credit to France that he made the investment, and it's also a credit to Jeff Gordon and his generation of drivers that NASCAR has taken hold well beyond its regional roots. And last week, a $400 million casino opened above Turn 2 at Kansas Speedway. The race for revenue never stops, and NASCAR's hitting on all cylinders. Still ahead on Sportfolio, Kevin Plank, CEO of Under Armour, explains why his company regularly chooses the 3rd week in February to launch a new product. It's not a coincidence. Details when we come back. Get Sportfolio wherever you go on the Bloomberg TV Plus app for iPad. If you missed our unveiling of the Sports Power 100 last month, you can savor it again. Summer Sanders, Dave Checketts, and Baseball Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt analyzed the most influential athletes of 2011 only on Sportfolio. Few public companies had as good a year in 2011 as Under Armour, the sports apparel and accessories company founded in 1996. Under Armour grew net revenues 38% and took in nearly $1.5 billion. But this week, the Baltimore-based corporation goes back to basics, putting its product on 350 young men with football dreams as the official outfitter of the NFL Draft Combine. I asked CEO Kevin Plank why this event is such a good fit for his brand.
The Combine, it's a great example for us of people that are preparing for, I want to take the next step. It's a test, it's a challenge, it's a clearinghouse that we have. So our affiliation there, and particularly our affiliation with great athletes like Tom Brady, who is a champion, right? Like Cam Newton, who we think is going to be a future champion as well.
They're moving fast.
Every athlete at the Combine will have the opportunity to wear this product, and then all the teams will have the ability to evaluate at a level on much different than just what was their 40 time or what was their vertical jump, and saying, what's the biometric information that's coming across about this athlete? They both ran 4.640s, but this guy did it with a heart rate of 185, and this guy did it with a heart rate of 135.
One of the beauties of your image and your brand is that you're really aspirational, that you have a Tom Brady who is great, and you have a lot of the kids who want to be great.
The hype that has been built around draft, the vision the NFL has isn't just this 5 or 6 days of programming that exists on the NFL Network, but how are you taking that and making that into compelling data? That, of course, it works for the teams, and it's something that it's a great evaluation process, but it's curious. Joe X goes in and he's the #1 rated player, and he comes out and he's the 12th rated player. There's a compelling human interest story side that you haven't seen that story fully come together, and we're very proud to be partners with the NFL for the next, I think, 5 or 6 years in developing and telling that story.
Under Armour stock opened the week trading at $84.27, up from $66 a year ago. We'll be examining Under Armour sponsorship and many other aspects of the draft business in a Sportfolio special 2 weeks from now. That's it for this edition of Sportfolio. Thanks to Commissioner David Stern, Jeff Gordon, and Kevin Plank for joining us. And thank you for watching. For more sports business analysis, check out our weekly column on the sports and entertainment dollar at businessweek.com, and visit our Sportfolio webpage for bonus content and all past episodes. I'm Rick Horrow. See you next time.